And welcome back to Bring Your Own Lightsaber. We are here talking Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 3. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan. We're joined by our one and only guest, Greg. How you doing, Greg? Yes, we have sound
Greg discovered
effects.
he has access to sound effects on Discord.
Yeah. How you
That's
doing,
very
Greg?
fun. I'm lovely. Today I have my old school Saber Forge, like original generation. Oh no, maybe it's generation 2. Eco Saber. This was a baselit saber. There were like 6 of them, and I was through the moon when I found. I was like, oh, I got such a good deal. And then, of course, like a year later, I learned about the actual custom saber community. And I'm like, oh, there's loads of better stuff for that amount of money. But this was great while I had it, even though it no longer works.
It
Oh, it
looks
looks nice
nice,
though.
though.
Although this isn't really a button. I 3D printed that for just so it had a little pop.
The man makes his own
That will be
buttons.
my phallic object of the podcast.
Alright, I gotta get a lightsaber, or at least like hold something while I'm doing this. Actually, I think I have like
Yes,
I have an old
I have spent
flashlight.
I have
It's kind of
spent many a moon researching the custom saber community, and although it's gotten better since I've kind of not been involved as much, I can tell you the best place to go to get the best thing you can get for the money you want to spend.
all right.
You just let me know, good buddy old palo guy.
You heard him, folks.
Um,
He's the man to go to. Um, and our go-to for Star Wars right now, it's Ahsoka. Some folks following the channel, you probably saw our reaction to Episode 1, our highest viewed piece of content yet so far. Um,
I probably will stay that way.
No Episode 2 content posted yet. Maybe something coming down the line. But just overall, going into Episode 3, how are you feeling about the show?
Great.
I agree.
My none of the fan theories that we had originally or that we were reading online. I don't feel like anything was confirmed or denied at this point. It just was like it's another transitionary episode. Honestly, I think they could have released episode 2 with it. Like this could have all been episode 2.
Yeah.
I think they didn't because they filmed so much and they were like, "Wow, we want to do 8 episodes of runtime just to keep up with Mando." And I mean, they don't need to add too much extra fluff if they don't need to. I like quantity. I like quality too, so I don't really want to sacrifice that much quality for quantity, but there is a healthy balance to be found. 8 episodes, because Andor had 12, right?
Right. Yep. That one's a
And
little
that
longer.
was the best. Like, I can't tell you how much I didn't want to watch a show about a guy, even though I really like Rogue One.
Yeah.
I didn't care. Give me some lightsabers somewhere.
Yeah.
I am so happy to tell you how wrong I was and how terrific that piece of film is, or television, whatever you want to call it. So 12 episodes can work if the writing is good. 6 episodes can work better if the writing is good, or it can be absolutely awful.
Yeah.
I still like the Kenobi series. Not that good though.
They missed. Yeah, they swung and it was not a home run. But with Ahsoka right here, we're on episode 3. There's 8 episodes. We're almost halfway through and nothing's really happened yet. I mean, we're enjoying what we're seeing, but that is a little concerning. We haven't really gotten to any sort of meat and potatoes yet.
We got the map from Treasure Planet. We have a new version of K2SO, who was my favorite droid, and I really like David. I like Alan Tudyk as K2SO, and now I like David Tennant as Hu Yang.
Great character.
He's he doesn't really filter very much.
Standard Jedi protocol.
That's a pretty Jedi thing to not filter very much.
I like him. He's a good addition. Well, why don't we just kind of jump into this episode? Episode 3, it kind of launches right off with Sabine doing some lightsaber training, led by Hu Yang. What did you think of that?
Yes. I was like, look at her go. She knows all the form. Well, she knows that form at least, and she's practicing the moves. She's making all the strikes. I thought it was like cool to see the training element of it, and they were using I think it's a kendo sword.
Yep.
It could be. I'm a little outdated on
I
my
think
sword
that's what it said,
terminology.
actually, yeah.
But like those are they're like specially hardened pieces of wood to make sure you have a very durable blunt object to train with, and like train and get bruises and stuff from that. But watching her train with that was pretty cool. It's a straight bladed thing. Sorry, my 3D printer was making a sound. It's paused, but if it's making a sound paused, that's the alarming.
True.
You don't want that. Yeah, so straight bladed like samurai swords, I don't think they're like really a thing. They always made them curved. The straight bladed thing was more like artistic.
Yeah.
But obviously to mimic a lightsaber, which is a straight edge weapon, edged, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah. We don't mention that name, I don't think, anymore.
Oh God, trigger alert.
I thought the whole thing was very Japanese, honestly, and they did actually say Ahsoka was like, "Oh, should we practice Zatoichi form?" which is a very famous Japanese blind swordsman character. So it was very, it felt very Dave, also. So let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it felt very Dave.
So actually,
when we get into the theories, I got some good stuff for it.
So they do actually get the helmet on her. She's kind of blind training. And it's just kind of furthering this idea that she doesn't have the strongest connection to the Force because she's struggling. Ahsoka's just kind of toying with her.
So you can go back to Rogue One, where they had Chirrut Imwe. He was blind, and he had a stick, and he was beating the crap out of clone or stormtroopers left and right. And he was a very formidable opponent as a blind person who was not, in terms of the current lore, Force sensitive. And I think the point is you don't have to be Force sensitive to feel the Force. You have to be Force sensitive to use the Force.
Yeah.
Right? And they kind of talk about that a little bit while they're sitting there. So they're like, oh, you can concentrate hard enough and you can do it. I really hope that that is not true for just anybody. If they want to make Sabine lightly Force sensitive, okay. And Hu Yang kind of says she is so not Force sensitive, the Jedi Order would not have accepted her.
Yeah.
That leaves wiggle room to say that she could be a little bit Force sensitive, maybe enough to push a button from like a foot away.
Yeah. They're hinting at this idea that everyone has this connection, right? But, and that they mention this later on, it's all about kind of your training and dedication. Like, Chirrut Imwe, I can't imagine how many hours that man spent training. Like
dedication, no talent, right? No talent, but nothing but like tranquility and dedication and meditation and so it's obvious he cannot use the Force. I'm sure he says that as much, but he can feel it, and I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me, right?
Yeah.
So, doesn't she say something similar to that at some point?
Something like that. She definitely mentions the just idea of the training and the dedication. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get into it later on for sure. That was kind of that whole scene. You do just get this sense of Ahsoka's connection versus Sabine's connection is slightly different.
Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted. What were we?
You're just finishing off the training with the sort of blind shield on. Ahsoka just kind of toying with Sabine, but also just kind of displaying her, I don't know, I guess skill or her. It felt very much like that scene with Obi-Wan and Maul, where they were just two masters, and you could tell she was at that kind of level almost as a master in combat.
What do you mean Obi-Wan? Like the duel of the Fates?
In Rebels.
Oh, their final duel.
Their final
Spoilers.
Duel. This idea where they almost have no movement except for what's needed, you know?
Yeah, they're just changing their stance until they've like completed their pre-chess game, and then it's just like move. The battle's decided.
Yeah, like Ahsoka.
I really like the gravity of that fight and the artistry. Although, and I think I said this on a different episode of the podcast, probably. I want a lightsaber fight. I want a good one, and these two were responsible for the best fight there was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Hayden and Ewan in Revenge of the Sith is incredibly epic, but never before. You've seen sword fights all over. Never have you seen like a dual bladed weapon with like Ray Park.
I'd love to see like a Star Wars Elseworld where you just get Vader versus Maul on a planet and just destroy things.
There's got to be somebody out there who's animated or like made a comic. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's people who do fan fictions and stuff like that. What is this guy? The Star Wars Theory. I used to watch him a lot when I was.
He does cartoons.
In college. It was a while ago, but yeah, he did. Well, he did a whole fan film. He did episode 1 was right around. That came out while I was still watching him. I don't think I ever saw if he did episode 2, but it was like full budget.
Yeah,
like he had Palpatine versus Vader in that first episode.
That was pretty epic, actually. You could tell he put on. I don't know how much money he spent on that thing, but it looked pretty good.
Well, everything he had, yeah. I mean, that was his dream. He was like, "I'm doing this because I love the fandom, and this is what I want to do with everything I've made from it." And that's like,
it was good. He did good.
Wait! I have a sound for it.
Sound effects, folks. They're here to stay. All right, so that's the Ahsoka and Sabine lightsaber training. Next we cut to Hera, and this is coming off episode 2 where there was that whole battle in the shipyards with the Imperial remnants, and Hera's basically going to inform her superiors about what happened, and one of her superiors is the now Chancellor of Mon Mothma, which was nice to see, and Hera's just saying, hey, we need to investigate this.
Yes, and the actress from Andor. I can't wait to see her in season 2. I thought it was interesting that not interesting. Well, it is interesting. It's not what I was specifically drawn to in this scene. It's like we just exchanged one totalitarian bureaucracy for another equally probably corrupt one. Like at least Mon Mothma is pretty incorruptible, but she's only the Chancellor, and you still have to deal with all of the nightmare of a bureaucracy. And they just basically just said, here's the Empire, now it's the New Republic. And they'll put a hat on it or something.
We see that a little bit in Mando too, this idea the New Republic is just, I don't know if they're spread too thin or they're just too pacifist, but they're not on top of things.
I get it. I know that that's how things are supposed to be, but
it was cool to see Mon Mothma at least. Actually, we also got a cameo from a character from Dave's other show, Star Wars Resistance, Senator Ziono, the main character's father.
I didn't watch that.
That you don't need to watch that. But yeah, that's a deep cut. I thought it was cool to just hear that name drop. He was the one basically giving Hera all the blowback on this, saying, we don't need to investigate that.
Is he famous for doing more of that in Resistance?
I think his son runs away from home. That kind of fits. That fits for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, so basically Hera gets a lot of blowback for this, and you can tell they're not going to support her in this. She kind of storms out of the room, and then we get to see a familiar face from Star Wars Rebels, Hera's son. Hera's
young Caleb Dune. So what did she call his name? Jason?
His name is Jason. I don't know if you've gotten to that scene in Rebels yet.
I've seen it. I've seen all the Rebels. Maddie hasn't. And when we saw Jason on screen last night, she's like, she has a kid? And I was like, we tried to watch that episode before we watched this episode. We have literally 2 episodes of Rebels left to go, but it's not like pulling teeth. She's better than that. But it's just, we didn't get there.
Almost.
So we'll get there.
Cool to see. And just the fact that the first thing he says is, I want to be a Jedi someday. Which we know who that kid's father is for sure.
Mm-hmm. Man, so the first time I watched Rebels, I was like, these two, will they, won't they? Will they, won't they? And then you get to the end, you're like, they did.
They did, yeah.
And then this time watching it through, I'm like, they are. You can also, I'm like, I don't know, 10 years older now? It's like, There's a lot more you pick up on.
Yeah. He actually wasn't that young. So I was kind of low key thinking, oh, maybe he'll join um, Ahsoka and
Well,
Sabine.
how far? Because this is Rebels was like a year or two before Rogue One and the New Hope. I'm sorry, Battle of Yavin.
Something like.
BBY. I have to consult the timeline.
Didn't we determine Luke was
But
like 10 or something during it, and then he's
this
19 and
show, Mando seasons 1, 2, and 3 take place what 9 BBY, or was it 9 years after the fall of the Empire? I think it might be that.
that
And
last
it's only like
scene in Rebels is in the future. It's in this current timeline.
oh
Yeah,
oh
that's after the
okay.
fall of the Empire.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. Moving on.
Moving on from Jason, and he was hanging out with Chopper, probably causing trouble. We just kind of head back to Hera and Sabine. They're chatting about training, and again, they're just kind of mentioning Sabine's lack of connection with the Force.
Yeah.
They do the cup test. Can you move the cup? She can't. But she says next time. Next time I got you, cup.
I'd like to see her do Mace Windu's test with the little screen. Speeder. Cup.
They gotta bring that back.
Cup.
I actually thought we
Well,
might.
I mean, that's a good way to sense, like what's your force affinity on a feeling basis and not necessarily a using basis.
I thought there was a chance they were gonna drop midichlorians for a second.
Yeah, for a minute there, it seemed like they were going to go that way. I don't know. Maybe they're pulling back from that whole ideology. Because other than just Liam Neeson, they don't
That
ever say those words again.
uh,
Not really.
if they did an Obi-Wan season 2, it just has to be him and Qui-Gon in the
Yeah,
desert, just
just
like riffing. So
I do
then,
want to see Liam Neeson on screen. I know that they did his whole thing in the Clone Wars was his training was incomplete, so he can't like do more than just a spirit voice.
yeah,
And they did the ghost in Mortis, and
yeah,
then they did the full ghost in Obi-Wan, and it's like okay, how are they? What they're gonna have to figure that out.
right,
Obviously, Dave Filoni didn't get a lot of say in Obi-Wan.
yeah, you can tell. um, yeah, so the cup test, it's a fail, and they just kind of get interrupted by Hera. Um, it's some bad news. No one's coming to help you out. The New Republic is not pulling through on this one.
No,
They're on the line, and then all of a sudden the communications get cut out. And coincidentally, that's when they arrived in the sector where Morgan Elsbeth is hanging out with her nice hyperspace ring.
her Ring of or no Eye of Zion.
Her Eye of Zion, and her squadron of fighters who immediately start attacking the ship.
Yeah, led by Shin Hati and Marok. Marok. Is it just Marok?
I think it's
Marok.
Marok.
Marok. Marok. It sounds right. Well, so everybody thinks that's Starkiller because Sam Witwer is credited in the show, and he's an unnamed, well, not obviously, but probably male assailant, and you get a nice garbled voice. So I don't know, not giving it away yet. But this is where I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. Somebody else had a theory that it could be Ezra, and I still like this theory, and I'll tell you why. Dave Filoni is a sucker for two things. The first one is wolves.
Yeah.
The second one is parallel story structure. And what did he do? Oh, no, I gotta forget what I said. Hold on. Hold, please.
I will say I was thinking about this during the episode, and Merrick was definitely trying to shoot that ship down. So if he knows that that's Ahsoka and Sabine's ship, and that's Ezra apparently, then he'd have to be under mind control or something like that.
They were trying to shoot. So remember, after they disabled the ship, after the Eye of Zion fully disabled the ship,
Yeah.
and Shinhati's fighter was going after it. I don't remember seeing Merrick really firing at it. I just saw clips of Shin, and I'd have to go back. I watched it
He
last
took
night,
a couple
but
shots at it. Yeah.
wasn't obvious. Like it could not have been that hard to hit that ship.
Yeah.
So shooting to kill, I don't know if they were really shooting to kill. Is the first point. And during that duel, like nobody dies, and whatever he's doing, he might know that she's gonna get away with it. But so the parallel story structure I'm talking about is the stuff with Ezra and Maul could now be true about Ezra and Thrawn. So in Rebels, Maul manipulates Ezra time and time and time again, and it's very obvious Maul is a dark side user, he's a Sith Lord, whatever, and Ezra keeps going back because, and I mean to quote my friend, Maul just oozes sex appeal, but that's a different commentary. No, because Ezra he started learning the Force as an adolescent. He's a young teenager with barely any training, but
Yeah.
enough to like know how to use the abilities and really just result oriented. So fast forward, Thrawn and Ezra travel all the way to the unknown regions on the backs of the Purrgil, which they mention by name and on screen, and how glorious that is when
That
they
was
fly
pretty
down
cool.
on the planet. And yeah, Hu Yang mentions them, and he's like, "You saw them, really?" Um, so he lose stuff here. They travel to the unknown regions. Thrawn's like big point for being in the Empire is in the newer books, and it's been a while since I read them. The the Chiss ascendancy, where his people are from, in their whole separate galaxy. I think it's a separate galaxy. They are dealing with a major like second empire like rival. The Chiss ascendancy is its own has its own empire or whatever. Yeah. And then this new thing is they're mostly warriors. They're called the Grisks, right?
Yeah.
So that's like their major threat. Now Thrawn goes to the Star Wars galaxy we know and love in the Clone Wars and does some stuff with Anakin. He takes like a planetary shield as like, oh hey, I found this cool technology from another planet. Like I'm gonna bring them because the Chiss ascendancy, their weapons are very different, and it's been a couple of years since I did those books, but they have a lot of like, I don't want to say ion weapons or electromagnetic weapons, but they're different than conventional blasters. So they didn't develop like counter technology to blasters, so i.e. planetary shields, because that wasn't what their weapons were.
Yeah.
Like, why would you make a shield if you didn't first have a sword?
Right.
Kind of. So he's like learning from them, and then he goes back, and then like with his newfound knowledge, he's like, okay, they've now become an empire, and like that happened in the last few years or whatever since Thrawn's been there, and he's like, I'm gonna go and figure out if this empire is an asset or a hindrance to the Chiss ascendancy in dealing with the Grisks.
Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward, Ezra and Thrawn get teleported across the universe, and they're just hanging out together. And here's where the other parallel story structure comes in. Who was a couple of Rebels characters that should have been mortal enemies that ended up becoming buddy-buddy after like 15 minutes stranded on a deserted planet together? Agent Kallus and Zeb. Zeb actually converts Agent Kallus to be a rebel and recruits him, like by accident. Because he's like, wow, we're actually like, we both live with a purpose. We have a sense of honor, whatever. But it's like, I see the flaws in my organization. What? Thrawn and Ezra could be stranded on a deserted planet for Lord knows how long, and they'll have to survive together. So they become buddy-buddy. Thrawn, who has always had respect for his incredibly talented adversaries, will work together with Ezra. He won't have too much pride. Ezra will be like, well, what's done is done. Like, he's kind of gotten to that Jedi point by the very, very end of Rebels, where he's like, I do it for the right reason. But that's just it. Thrawn, being the genius that he is going to master manipulate, and this is my theory, master manipulate Ezra into, hey, this is really why I came and worked for the Empire. I don't believe in the totalitarian fascism regime or whatever. I believe in military strategy, and I come from these people that we do this thing. This other empire of this more evil species, I don't remember exactly how they were described, is threatening a lot of like evil stuff, taking over whatever.
Yeah.
We need to combat them together. That's why I went to join the Empire. So whatever is back in your universe or your galaxy, when we get back, like it's gonna have to help us. However many years they spend out there, like together, just leaves that much more time for Thrawn to become a Maul-like figure and manipulate Ezra to go down whatever path Thrawn sees fit. Very distinctly, so the Chiss they use force-sensitive people to guide their ships through hyperspace. They don't use hyperspace lanes. That's like a big thing.
Interesting.
If Thrawn is going to keep him away from that in the Chiss Ascendancy, assuming, of course, they went to the same galaxy as the Chiss Ascendancy, which that's what everybody thinks, but that's my conjecture. What if he convinces Ezra, listen, this foe that we're facing is so terrible that you are going to need to go down this path to get these results. You're going to need to embrace the dark side to get these results. Ezra becomes he's like the only dark side users I've ever known is Vader and the Inquisitors, and Maul, I guess, but so makes himself a double-bladed Inquisitor lightsaber, trains and learns like them. That could be it. I didn't think that Ezra was going to be Marok. I'm not going to get it right. I didn't think that was going to be Ezra, and I've seen some theories that said it could be. He didn't kill Ahsoka, and he could have known that all of his attacks would be countered by a former Jedi, and a very talented Force user and duelist. But I do still think the possibility of Ezra being alive would be contingent on the fact that he is a completely changed person, and all of that hinges on Thrawn manipulating him and basically doing what Dave Filoni's already done with Ezra and Maul, kind of, and Agent Kallus and Zeb. He likes that type of story arc, complex characters that will change their minds when they're met with the right opposing ideology. And I think this would be the perfect opportunity for him to like really swing one over on people. And a lot of people love Ezra being the good guy, and he would never do that. But look what they did to Luke Skywalker, man. And I know Dave Filoni is better than that.
Yeah.
But this also isn't Luke Skywalker. He was a moody teenager with hormones when they teleported away.
Yeah.
So who knows what could happen.
We've seen him have that kind of dark mind before in Rebels. Again, going back to the Maul stuff. Like, he opened a Sith holocron. Like, it's there for sure. He hinted at it. Does he make a whole show called Star Wars Rebels only to have his main character turn evil? He could. That'd be pretty ballsy.
Dude,
I won't be upset by it at all.
It doesn't have to be a one-dimensional character either. He can be like, listen, I did this because of this. Like, he thinks he's very justified, right? He can convince himself of that. Maybe he convinces Sabine and Ahsoka, like, this is a major threat and we have to deal with it this way. And they're like, we need to deal with it, but we don't necessarily need to do it this way. And there's a whole like character development. Like, that's what I wanted them to do with Rey in the sequel trilogy. Was she is untrained and a person. Let her go to the dark side, and her whole arc can be coming back from selfish pursuits. I thought that would have been way more interesting.
It would have been very interesting if she shook Kylo Ren's hand instead of battling him. That would have been incredible. What were they saying? Like, let's rule the galaxy together or something? That could have redeemed the movie, but I don't want to think about it.
I'd also be okay if they just scrubbed the whole sequel trilogy from existence because of The Last Jedi.
Using the word.
They're not going to do that.
We'll see.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I like that.
That was what I mainly wanted to talk about today, and we've gone off the rails with it. But we're pretty much at the end of the episode. They go to the Eye of Zion. They fly around in ships for a while. Ahsoka gets in a spacesuit in like a tenth of a second, which It's a tailor-made spacesuit, which was kind of cool. And
I will say
you know,
that felt very Anakin to me. Just the idea that he would just do something
going
crazy
out
like
there,
that. Yeah,
where out into space,
I liked it.
did a good job,
I
and
like
it
that.
looked like it was just believable enough to not, or it was the whole idea was hokey, right? But it wasn't so bad that I couldn't watch it,
Yeah,
like the Leia chase scene. And
it made sense. It made sense for what
I
it was.
understand you want to write some Star Wars for children, and they need to feel like they're a part of the action too, and that's going to widen your audience and make Star Wars for everyone, and that's a good thing because that means more Star Wars. You just got to find out where your niche Star Wars is and go live there. And I think, as much as I love lightsabers and all that Sith stuff, Andor is that's my bread and butter. I would love to see a show written like that for the like if they did the Acolyte and they went back and did like Darth Bane and his apprentice Xana,
I don't
and they
have
like
confidence
I
in
know they'd
it.
have to change all of the canon or all of the Legends books to be like, well, we're only going to say it's a couple hundred years ago instead of a couple thousand years ago.
Yeah.
That's fine. Change it, but do the story and write it well.
I don't
Make the
have
characters.
confidence that they can pull off whatever the acolyte is trying to pull off. Just you
I don't
know,
even know what it's supposed to be.
well, they I think they had a brief, not a,
Oh, I
like a
looked it up
teaser,
first.
right? They had some sort of teaser. There was a few Jedi in there, and it's definitely set before Episode One, and no one that we know is involved in it. That's the issue. We don't know that Filoni's involved with it, and everyone else over there we don't really trust.
Just
So that's a big
they
issue.
need to let Dave Filoni be the creative mind behind all the ideas and the lore and the way it fits together, and let Jon Favreau direct the big set pieces. And Dave Filoni has learned a tremendous amount too. So far, Ahsoka episodes 1, 2, and 3 feel like a one whole movie, and I'm
Yes.
really enjoying the ride so far. It is, and I don't say this to discredit it. It does pander to like the nerdy fandom. Like I want to see somebody do this cool lightsaber trick, so they deliberately set up a set piece for that whole trick. Like there's none of that in Andor. It's all about the plot and the motive, and
Yeah.
that's
It
why it's
just
technically better.
boom, boom, boom. This is what it's
I'm
doing.
also an older audience member at this point. Not that old, but you know, Star Wars for all people.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a balance of
um,
let's do this cool thing and let's actually tell a story too.
yeah. So they escape Marek and Shinhati in their ships after like fixing their ship, and they fly through a bunch of Purgle, which was really cool to see on screen.
But
I
huge.
wanted to see one jump to light speed that or hyperspace. That would have been really cool, and
We'll see
I'm
it.
sure we'll get to see
Yeah,
it.
we'll see it.
I wonder if the Eye of Sion is going to use the Purgle in some way. Like, why build it? Well, I guess that's the hyperspace lane starting point.
Well, what Hu
But like,
Yang said was that the old Jedi specifically knew them to follow certain lanes.
yes,
So
to other
you're right.
galaxies.
This
And
one,
theoretically, with a hyperspace ring of that size and power, you could you could do it in like because I don't know if they ever really talk about how long it takes to jump once you enter hyperspace, how long it takes
yeah,
to go from planet to planet. It's supposed to be like hours, right? You're going fast, but you're still traversing like distances of light years, and
yeah,
so it takes them hours, right? And like that's why in A New Hope, when they're on the Millennium Falcon, the fastest ship in the galaxy, they're on there for hours, and Luke is like training with Obi-Wan before they get to Alderaan, but Alderaan ain't there. That, the idea of light speed skipping the Falcon could only be done planet to planet in one planetary system. When they go, they jump and they jump and they jump and they jump, and it's like that is a cool idea, but doesn't it breaks the
yeah.
physics of the
Relativity. I don't think they should ever go into trying to explain that. Just leave it as it is. Everything happens simultaneously, and we don't want to know how long it's taking because they started to do that in Game of Thrones, and people were like, "Why is he able to travel from here to here so quickly?" And it takes you out of it. I don't think that's a good thing to start trying to figure out the physics and the time of the Star Wars galaxy.
yeah. But you don't have to necessarily figure it out, but don't break a rule that makes you question it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
unless you're
So
going to the world between worlds where all rules are off, and I actually want to see them do some weird things with that if they can.
I don't. It's just such a cop out. You can rewrite any mistake you made, and like I agree, the sequel. I believe the sequels were a mistake. The way they were executed was a mistake. They had a talented cast full of good people, and they gave them crap parts to
Crap.
play,
Yeah.
and the direction for everybody. Like I saw this great. It's those guys, the ones that they're on TikTok, Instagram. The videos. It's the one dude who walks into the conference room and he's shouting. He's like, "We're gonna do this," and then it's always backwards. He did the Star Wars sequels, and it was
Oh, jeez.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't send that to you.
Yeah.
I should have.
That would be hilarious.
But we're gonna take who's a character we all know and love? Luke Skywalker. We're gonna kill him. Who's another one? Leia. We're gonna kill her. Who's another one? Han Solo. Everybody's favorite. Oh, we'll kill him first.
Yeah. I can't even think about them anymore. Just get them out of my head, honestly.
It's
Um,
like I want them to do the Heir to the Empire novels, right? The original Timothy Zahn
which was
books.
that the
And now
idea that they're gonna actually have his movie be that book? Not the book, but that plot
it's
line.
cool to me. So far, it doesn't fit for me because Sabayoth, even at the very beginning, like you knew he had a few screws loose before
Yeah.
he went total nut job. Balin strikes me as very well composed
Yes.
and all there.
He's
So
not.
they would have to dig up another rogue Jedi, which they could do. They could also like say, "Hey, in the other galaxy,
Yeah.
we did have a Jedi. Some Jedi made it there during like before the Age of the Empire, but they're because of relativistic physics and not having a hyperspace ring the size of a planet, a small moon. They it took them years, like a couple decades, to
That'd be
get to the
interesting.
unknown region.
And they went nuts.
Like maybe a handful of Jedi just show up in the unknown regions, knowing that they won't. They've been gone for 30 years,
Yeah.
and then you could have like, oh, the Chiss capture them, and they try to clone them, and they create a crazy clone, and then and then that. There's so many ways they could write
Well,
it.
so yeah,
Lucas, well, please.
I just rewatched Mando, and in that final episode, Gideon is building Force-sensitive clones. We don't know.
Yeah,
One of them opens their eyes. We don't know how successful they are, but if I were to guess, I'm gonna guess they can do something like that. I don't know if they would make a clone of Ezra, or if that would be Luke, or what they would
that
do
would
with
be a
that.
way to do it. That would be a way to do it. Thrawn is behind all of Moff Gideon's cloning stuff, and like they're sharing the research.
We
He
saw
never gets to
Pelion.
see his.
We
We
saw
did see
Pelion.
Captain Pelion. Yeah, that was cool.
We don't know.
Captain Pelion.
We don't know what communication he's had with Thrawn across
Well,
galaxies.
he's so in the. I don't remember as much about the new books and how much Captain Pelion plays in, and that's a problem because that's what they're going to go off of.
True.
I feel like he dies in the aftermath book where
Really?
they. I don't remember if he does or not. It's a trilogy. Um, it follows like these rebel folks mopping up the Empire's mess after the Age of the Empire is completed. Uh, that's a bad way of putting it.
I've read the Aftermath trilogy. There's some good characters
Okay.
in there. Sinjir,
Oh yeah, like
Mr. Bones.
Palpatine's lackey. What's that guy's name?
Oh,
The
well,
Shadow Count.
it also follows the female Admiral, Admiral Sloane.
Yeah, Admiral Ray Sloan, but I can't remember if the other Imperial members that she's like really combating with. I can't remember if Pelion was included in that ensemble. And
I don't think he was. I don't think he was.
Oh.
No. What was?
I have to go back.
What was that guy's name? Who was the main threat in that?
It's not Maximus. It's
Gallius Rax.
Yes, Gallius Rax.
Yeah.
He tries to blow up Jakku and take everyone with it.
Hux's father, who we also saw in Mando.
Yeah.
We might have seen Admiral Sloane in Mando when Gideon's on that call. I can't remember if she was part of that or not.
I'd have to go back. I'm sure somewhere there's. I'll have to find it. Maybe for next time. A list of all of the members in the Shadow Council. But hearing that name, the Shadow Council, and Captain Pelion is there. He's a liaison for Thrawn. Where is Thrawn then? But in the original trilogy, the books that are no longer even remotely canon, Captain Pelion was Thrawn's like main captain.
Yeah.
Thrawn's ship, the Chimera, had Captain Pelion as like the leader
Yeah.
of the fleet, and Thrawn was just like pulling the strings, I guess.
He was in Rebels too, I believe. Obviously, a lot younger at the time. But,
Yeah.
And Rook.
Rook
died, right? In Rebels.
Who? Rook.
Rook. Didn't he die?
I have to watch the last 2 episodes again. He was alive when they captured Hera, and then Kanan died. He's the reason Kanan died. Oh, and Zeb almost murders him by punching him in the face. They send him back. They sent him back.
I'm remembering one of the wolves might get him. I could be wrong about that.
Okay. That'd be good. But I mean, that Rook was supposed to be a member of the Nogri, and they don't really get into that at all.
No. You're right.
I have another Star Wars shirt for today.
I know I have. Yellowstone National Park. Not quite Star Wars. Close to where they filmed episode 6.
Yeah, they've definitely filmed stuff.
What other theories do we have? Just moving forward, where do we think this is going?
I think the next episode is going to be Balin and Ahsoka's face-off that we see in the trailers. I think they're going to give it to us episode 4.
Yeah.
And then like the major set piece, like Ahsoka's final battle. Honestly, I could really see it being with Ezra and being in episode 8. Like, how crazy would that be? Episode 7, the cliffhanger is Marek's mask gets ripped off and it's Ezra, and you're like, oh.
Well, if that's the case, I want to see Sabine fight Ezra and just add some extra like emotional weight to that, even though she probably can't face it. I mean, I'm not sure. That swell of emotions, would that do something for her connection to the Force and make her a bit stronger in that moment? Possibly.
Okay, that could be the catalyst to get her to actually be Force sensitive, because they wouldn't. It would be what's the trope? The pistol. Chekhov's pistol? Or no. Whatever the name of that trope is. If there's an object shown in a movie at the beginning, there's no reason to show that object unless it's going to be used at the end.
Right.
If there's a gun hidden that you see somebody hide, somebody's going to find it later and use that gun. It will become an important plot device later. So why go through all the effort of showcasing Sabine as a potential Force user if you're not going to follow that through?
I could see something happening. And maybe that she actually hinted at this a little bit, where that idea of like, oh, can it just be like a strong emotional thing? She thought what happened in the previous episode was going to trigger maybe some Force abilities for her, but it didn't. So maybe at the end of this, something might get triggered.
Yeah.
Yes. What other theories do we have?
Who have we seen display a level of like Force craziness after a catalyst?
Well, one thing we see on the dark side is when Kylo Ren is like digging into the pain and kind of trying to get stronger through his pain when he was injured. That's like a Sith trope we see in various media. I don't know. What else are we thinking for theories?
How much time have we clocked in here? We don't want to. It's a half-hour episode. And we've really gone for it.
Oh yes, this was my one theory that I thought of after just having watched Mando, which literally ends with Mando speaking to the New Republic and saying, "I would like to be an off-the-books patroller of the Outer Rim for you. Like, can I be an independent contractor that you call in for dark missions that you don't need official clearance on?" And so Hera cannot get official clearance to have a crew come in and help out Ahsoka and Sabine. Could she get unofficially Din to come in and help them out?
Yes, she could do that.
which originally I said, please no Mando content in this show.
I don't. I think they tease it at the end, and that's what sets up Dave Filoni's movie, right?
Right. The movie is the idea of the Avengers. Everyone's coming together into one movie. Ahsoka, hopefully Luke, Mando, Boba. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's something they save for the end. Because I don't see how helpful he's going to be against Shin and Balin when they can absolutely destroy him.
Well, he's not going to be wielding the Darksaber anymore. He gave that to Bo-Katan, and now he doesn't have his fancy
Darksaber
Beskar
was
spear
destroyed.
either. Oh,
He doesn't have anything.
duh!
He doesn't have his
Yeah,
spear.
that's
He's got nothing. He's in trouble.
he's gonna Grogu's gonna take the weird black crystal, and he's gonna favor, and Grogu's gonna be the heir to Tar Vizsla and be the new Jedi Mandalorian, not Sabine.
In Grogu.
Yeah, it's gonna be Grogu.
All right. Well, I think we're all theoried out. Overall, again, it's a good episode. Not much has happened
It's
yet.
not as exciting as the
Agreed.
finale of the first one and the action we get in the second one, but it's just like it's the bridge to the
Hopefully,
season 4.
yeah.
Or sorry, the episode 4, because it's got to be like draw you in, give you some action, give you a little bit of a transition, and then a wrap up, right? 4 episode block instead of 6 or 3, depending on it's like the halfway point, right?
I think you're right. I think we're getting a lightsaber battle next episode, and actually, we saw that scene in Ahsoka when she was introduced, when she's in the forest, straight up hunting guys. Could get something like that again because they're all heading in to kind of find her, and she's just doing some covert operations in there, taking out guys. That could be pretty cool to see. Either that or I don't think they're stranded though on the planet. Their ship's working. They just got to get out of there.
They shut it off so they can't be tracked.
They got to get out of there, get up to the hyperspace ring, and find a way to get to that galaxy. Basically, that's what's next.
I think the story is gonna 4, 5, or 5, 6, 7, and 8. They're gonna take place in the new galaxy. I hope they do.
They must.
I think I'm so curious what we're gonna find. Like I know in the existing galaxy we have a new planet with a new biome, everything, and that's great. Like that's a lot of stuff, but it's pretty well established that all planets either fall under one of a handful of factions, Empire or New Republic controlled, because the Empire still is like a shattered fleet, but they control planets, or you're New Republic. You could be a planet controlled by gangsters or crime syndicates, Tatooine, or you're like an undiscovered, like wild, like Dagobah, for example. It's like one of those 4 things is really where the planets fly. So we go someplace completely new.
Yeah,
could be controlled by the Grisks, could be controlled by the Chiss Ascendancy, could be the Yuzan Vong. I would love to see them. Give me the Vong.
The only other thing I'm wondering is, do Ahsoka and Sabine assemble a crew at all before they head out to that other galaxy? And does that crew possibly involve Old Man Rex or others? No.
Oh, okay, you've got me. Yes, I hope they. I would love to see Tem. I mean, but he has said, didn't he say that he didn't know if he was involved with Rebels or with Ahsoka at all, like whatever he's been filmed in,
he can't.
or something.
He can't disclose anything.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that's what it is.
I feel like they need more than just the 2 of them over in that other galaxy. Like they'll have no backup whatsoever. I mean, maybe they've
got Hu Yang.
They do have Hu Yang, true. He might die. He might die over there.
He's like the last vestige of.
I know.
That age.
All right. Well, I think that will do it for this episode of Bring Your Own Lightsaber. Tune in next time, and we will recap Ahsoka episode 4. We'll see you guys later.